it here. I'm just doing the London recap for today. It should be a pretty brief one because there's not a lot happened for me, so I won't keep you too long. Um, so the daily's bearish. We had this boss. We got the close below. So this is our new range. That's a swing high. That's a swing low. Now after a boss, we can expect a pullback. So it made sense to look for long sort of within here this morning, sort of in anticipation the price will pull back to at least this supply, if not further, and mitigate one of these supply zones in sort of the premium of the daily leg. So longs made sense, but I was also aware that the daily was bearish, so I had my eye on this sort of refined wick supply to see if we could get the next leg to the downside. But as I say, following a boss, you can usually expect a pretty decent pullback, so it wouldn't surprise me if you came back up to one of these zones in the premium over the next few days. The 4 hour, again, replay here. This morning we were sitting sort of around here. Again, similar to the daily, we had the break of structure. This was our new range. So after a break of structure, you can expect a pullback. Now, the chalk line in this case was up here because all these candles sort of broke the previous candles low. So with no chalk technically, but we did have an internal chalk. And again, this, I know the internal chalk caused a lot of sort of question marks in the community, particularly among newer members, but if you're new and you don't understand it, just ignore it. It's not at all necessary, but just whenever price is sort of stuck in a mess in a larger range like this here, it can be handy just to sort of use the internal of the internal to sort of anticipate which way price is going to go. So you can see there we had the sort of internal chalk, we got that minor high taken out, pull back into sort of this minor supply, got the reaction failed. So at this point you can sort of say, right, supply is failing, demand is holding. So coming into London session this morning, I think we're sort of sitting around here. So at this point I was thinking sort of we're in the middle of this previous range. So I was just thinking that, right, longs are good, so we could target at least this 4 hour supply, while knowing that we may get a deeper daily pullback, so we could even come up here into daily premium. And I was also aware that 4 hour and daily are both bearish, so we could continue bearish from this, the refine this supply. So yeah, I was happy to look for longs and shorts, sort of given how everyone was looking. And on the M15, yeah, we have mitigated this sort of buy to sell wick. It was a flip zone as well, so it made sense, so we might get a decent reaction from it. Price mitigated it, we came down, and then we mitigated this whole sort of supply range. Price pushed up and it failed to take out this high. So this morning I was sort of viewing this low was weak, and I was thinking that it maybe uses inducement to sort of hit the refined POI, but had this supply caused the chalk, so there is something in it, and came into it, and then we got another bullish chalk coming out of it just when that inside bar was taken out. So at this point, yeah, that's 7 o'clock, so that's whenever session open happened. At this point I was aware the price is sort of within this whole supply range, so I was thinking what could happen was the price sort of pull back into this demand here and then continue bullish, but it just absolutely sort of took off and didn't really give any entries. There was an M1 continuation within here, but I'm not a massive fan of it, and I will show you why. Yeah, in isolation it meets the criteria. For an M1 continuation I want to see a mitigation, which in this case it mitigated this demand. I want to see a sweep, so it swept these sort of equal lows in there, and then I want to see a flip. So you can see we sort of flipped this M1 inside bar as well, so that was a supply to demand flip, and then price pulled back into it. Now I don't think it would have been tagged to a 2 pip stop, depending on how close you, it might have just been tagged depending on how much you want to cover the low by. But I was not a massive fan of it, just purely because my main concern with trading M1 continuations is I don't want to trade in directly against anything on the M15. And in this case, I was acutely aware that the M15 swing and internal were both still bearish. So in theory, we're expecting the low this week low to go in line with the expectational order flow until the market sort of shows us otherwise. So I just wasn't happy trading directly into that supply, which is why I didn't take it. But it just by met the criteria. I just don't think it's that high probability personally, and not something I really want to take. Then there was a potential sell here. It's from this M15 supply. It didn't, price didn't, it hit the sort of the buy to sell range, but it didn't hit the refined pivot. So it depends on whether it's in your plan, whether you also wait for the pivot or whether you're happy to take the range. Personally, if a real clean M1 entry model set up after mitigating the range, then I would sort of go and investigate and say, oh yeah, it hit the range, that makes sense. But the entry model wasn't massively clean. But having said that, it was nested in 4 hour supply. 4 hour and M15 were both bearish, so maybe it is an area where you want to be aggressive, but you also have to bear in mind like all that momentum coming up. Like it's clear there's a lot of momentum. The M1 entry just about met the criteria. You can see you sort of swept this high, mitigated the M15 range and the 4 hour supply, then sort of pulled back into this demand failed to take out this high, reaction failed, and then we got the M1 shock, so it did just make sense. What put me off this at the time was how small the 2 pip stop looked relative to the price action at that time. It's like, it's just something, it's just sort of, it's personal preference. I don't have a hard and fast rule for it, or sometimes I will take it if I really like the entry model, but in this case, like I try to trade with a fixed 2 pip stop like Matt, and like in this case I would have needed at least 4 to sort of enter in the EQ and sort of cover the high, and it's just like I don't really want to use double my usual stop, and it's usually a sign that there's that volatility is high in the market, so it's maybe not necessarily the best time to be trading. But that's just personal. Like it's a valid setup. You've chalk flip, bit of a V shape there. It's not the most convincing V shape. It was sort of running out of steam on the way down, but it does just about meet the criteria. Yeah, it would have been a pretty quick loss on it, and that was pretty much it. We went on to, oh yeah, the other thing about the M15 POI was there was zero inducement in front of it. It was caused by a news announcement on last Thursday, so it was pretty much a straight push down. Like there was nothing on the M1 there, so it was all, and it didn't swept sort of an inside bar maybe, but it left these sort of equal highs behind. So it's not a massive surprise that the POI failed and we got a bullish boss. So if you want to be really aggressive with your entry model, that maybe isn't the POI, an M15 POI where you want to do it on account of it having no inducement. Yeah, we got the bullish boss, and then the last I saw, price was sort of coming down during New York, but I don't think there was any entries as it. Yeah, you can see we got the boss, and then we got the pullback, bearish chalk there. Yeah, if price had pulled back maybe into this sort of supply, this flip zone, you might have been interested, but that's London anyway. If there's any trades around during New York, I will post a markup in the channel. So that's it, guys. If you have any questions around, just drop me a message or tag me in one of the public channels, and I will get back to you. Thanks for your time. Goodbye.